recorded too. Okay. So I think everybody knows here, but I am Deanna Clausen, and I am a board certified health and wellness coach. I am also a functional medicine certified health coach. And so essentially what I do is help people move toward the health and wellness goals that are really important to them, and that, you know, align with kind of their values and the way that they want to live their best life, physically, mentally, emotionally. And the functional medicine piece is some specialized training that I've had. And if you're not familiar with functional medicine, it is essentially a root-based way of approaching medical care, where you're really kind of asking why and looking at the body as a whole and looking at how all the symptoms and the systems of our bodies work together. And so instead of kind of slapping a Band-Aid on the symptoms, you're really trying to figure out and dig deep into why something's happening. So I have training in that. I'm trained to work with doctors in the functional medicine field. And it really is about, for me, really helping people use a lot of significant lifestyle factors to heal themselves and find their healthiest self. So that is kind of about me. I am a health coach, so of course I'm not a doctor and I don't prescribe or diagnose, and I must say that this is not medical advice. So that is just my little disclaimer here. And today I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And
do you want us to mute ourselves?
That would be wonderful, yeah. And I will just have myself showing here on the screen and on the recording. So if you do see a different picture, the recording will just show me, so don't worry about that. And yeah, if you could mute yourself, that would be wonderful. Okay. So anyway, we are gonna talk about kind of the myth of motivation tonight, and then we're not gonna talk too much about motivation itself, although we're gonna go into that in just a little bit, but we're gonna really talk about how to sort of move beyond motivation. And let's see if we can get everybody muted here. I think we got everybody now. Okay, everyone should be muted now. Okay, so anyway, we are going to talk about, you know, how to kind of get beyond motivation, because essentially motivation is a totally unreliable thing, and we're kind of led to believe otherwise. But we're going to, you know, try to find some strategies and ways to move beyond that, even when your motivation is low, how you can really like continue to focus on your health journey, on really sticking to all of your healthy habits and goals. And, you know, some of the things I'm going to talk about tonight, you may have heard before a little bit. I'm hoping that there's a few new things here for you as well. But sometimes it's also about just hearing it a little bit differently, or it's about the timing for you, hearing it at the right time. So my, you know, my goal for you tonight is really for you to understand that you don't always have motivation, and there's nothing wrong with you if you don't, and that you really don't always need it in order to kind of still do the things that you want to do. And my goal is also for you to learn some new ideas and strategies to really maintain all those health goals, and to help you kind of continue to put your health first. And we all know that that's challenging. Everybody here lives, you know, busy lives, and there's things in our world that make it harder sometimes to put our health first. And so I'm here to help try to support you in doing that. Let's see. Motivation, of course, can be super, super powerful, right? It can sometimes be this like magical word. And we know that when we're really motivated, we can do a lot. We can just be, get so much done. We can really like be rolling forward all the time. And there's a couple of types of motivation. We've got our intrinsic or our internal motivation. We've got our external or our external or our extrinsic motivation. And I'm not going to go, too deep into that tonight because we're going to try to move beyond motivation. But really, they're both super important drivers. Internal or intrinsic motivation, of course, tends to be the sort of ultimately the more powerful one, and the one that helps us really maintain change that actually lasts a lot longer. If you kind of think about like, if every day you figure out a way to live your life so that you can wake up with like a ton of energy, or maybe without pain that you used to have. And that means that you can do all these things that are really important to you, like run around with your kids or your grandkids. That is going to be an incredibly powerful driver for you. Versus if somebody like wags their finger at you and shames you into telling you you should be different or you should change, right? Like which one makes you want to be, one makes you want to change more. So internal motivation does tend to be more important. There are ways that external motivation can actually be super positive and great and powerful. But, if we can find kind of our inner drivers, it tends to be the best. So motivation can, of course, be powerful. However, it is totally unreliable. And it really comes and goes. It is basically like a wave. So this is what motivation really looks like. And often, we feel like, oh, everyone around me is motivated, like he or she's, so driven to do all these things, and I'm not motivated. What's wrong with me? I have all these times where I just don't feel like doing it. There is nothing wrong with you. You are human, and that is totally normal. And anyone who says they're never unmotivated is probably not being truthful, because ultimately motivation is like these waves that you see here. And it can be like a long wave of high where you're riding it high for a while, and then could be a long wave of low motivation. It could be that it's high and low quickly, comes and goes quickly, and it goes at different paces, right? So we can sometimes kind of blame ourselves, like, what am I doing wrong? But in reality, there's nothing wrong with you. So basically what you need is you need some skill power, not just some willpower. You need some really basic skills that are going to help you move beyond just relying on that unreliable wave of motivation. And the thing is that you actually, the more that you kind of build the foundations with the skills, you actually are going to end up increasing your motivation, because part of our motivation is having the confidence to be able to do something. So knowing that we can actually achieve something or stick to a habit or do something that we say we're going to do, that actually builds our confidence. And when we're more confident, we actually are more motivated to do it. And then the other thing is habit. Like when you have something as a developed habit, it's a lot easier to do it. It doesn't feel like you're like going, uphill all the time. So that in itself also increases your motivation. So when you start to build these foundations and these skills, you actually are going to also increase your motivation. So let's talk about, I'm going to run through quickly here 9 ways that you can achieve these healthy habits and these goals outside of motivation. So the first one is to use your social connections, use a support system. And I know that you've heard this one before. We are, of course, living in a pandemic. And so I'm not trying to be insensitive with these photos here. I realize that they're group pictures, but There's a lot of ways right now, as we've developed over the last couple of years, a lot of ways we can connect with each other without necessarily even being in person. And maybe that's also being outside with friends where you're more comfortable right now. But, announcing your goals to somebody, finding a buddy who's going to help keep you accountable. I like to call them accountability buddies. Our social connections are so, so important. And people who have like goals, we are exponentially more likely to stick to our goals when we're surrounded by people who have similar goals to us. So the second one is make it doable right now. So the question is really, it's great to have goals that are kind of big, maybe big, scary goals, or where you're really looking further into the future. But as you're working toward that, the question is really, how do you make it so that you can do it right now? And basically, so like if your goal is to eat a totally whole foods diet, but right now, every single one of your meals is all processed meals, or you're dining out every single day, all your meals, like start with, choosing one meal or even choosing one food in each meal to replace, a processed food with a whole one. Or, if you want to run a marathon, great. But if you're not even exercising right now, like you probably need to start with something you can do right now reasonably. And that's more like, walking each day for 30 minutes. So as you kind of build that up, you're going to move towards your goal, but make it something that you can do right now. It's going to, again, build your confidence. It's going to, really give you a positive feedback loop. You're going to get that reward that you can actually do it. And that's going to make you want to keep going. So the next one is to do what you enjoy. What brings you joy? And this is maybe a little more toward like movement, particularly, the saying is that the best type of exercise is the one that you will actually do, right? So if you are, you're not going to do something you hate. You're just not. So start with something that you love to do. If that means that instead you like dance in your living room every night instead of running because you hate running, well, great, start there. Do the things that you enjoy. If you would much rather walk through the woods than like do a workout video, and you're really just trying to create the habit of, a daily exercise, do that. And it's not just movement. It's like, let's say that you love to light candles, and you're trying to start a meditation practice. Well, tie those things together. Do that so that you make a ceremony out of it and you light a candle and you love the feeling of that. And you do that where you're going to start with, 2 minutes of breathing in and out. Like create an environment that's going to make you enjoy what you're doing, or it's going to bring you joy. So the next one is, this is super, super, super important. And it's something that, I didn't learn for a long, long time. This is to get super specific about what you're trying to do. So when you have these goals, which are important, but when you have these goals that are like lose 10 pounds, eat healthier, reduce my stress, drink more water, those are not specific actions. Those do not actually get you anywhere. So those are what we would call outcome goals. It's where we want to get. They're really important to set and to kind of know where we want to go in our journey, but they do not tell our brain what to do. So when you wake up in the morning, if you say, well, I want to eat healthier. Well, when you wake up in the morning, how does that tell you what the heck to do, right? So you need to get super specific in your behavior. It's what we call behavioral goals that actually tells your brain the direction to go. What is it supposed to do? So for example, instead of say lose 10 pounds, it might be I'm going to walk 30 minutes after lunch 5 days a week. Do you see how that sounds different? or I want to eat healthier. Okay, I'm going to start with, my goal is to eat a vegetable with every meal. Or, I want to reduce my stress. Well, I'm going to meditate 3 minutes every morning before I have my coffee, right? So that gives you exact direction for what to do with yourself. All right, and number 5 is to schedule it. Another one I know you've heard, but scheduling it is powerful. It really is, and it makes a difference, I promise. Whether you are in a demanding, many-hour job right now, or whether you are, retired with a free schedule, like schedule your movement. Think about every day when it's going to happen. And that's the key there, is you're going to turn the if to a when. Some of us just went through locally this event that we call the McCall Streak, which is 40 days of movement in a row. And I got to give props to my 75-year-old mom, who also went through it. She did awesome. So, but the thing that I always say that I love about the streak is that it turns the if to a when. So it makes it a non-negotiable. So it's not an, if my day doesn't get upside down, if if something else doesn't get in the way, if I get to it, if something else doesn't come up, it's when is this going to happen? And it's the question of when is it going to happen, and it's here's when I'm going to do it. So it really makes it a part of your day that's already planned out. It really does make a difference. And now, of course, not everything goes according to plan, but that's why we have a plan B. So always, always, always have a plan B. And that is true of, any of the kind of habits that you might be trying to form or maintain, because life happens, right? And so that might be, it might be something like you have a great daily habit of like cross-country skiing every day, but all of a sudden it's snowed a foot and you can't go out on your groomed trail because they haven't groomed, right? So instead, your plan B is to do a workout video at home, or it's pouring rain and you're like, I don't want to go outside. So I always have a plan B. My plan B is to do this, this exercise, or I'm going to lift these weights inside. Or for me, I always, always, always keep plan B food in my freezer and my fridge, like always. And it is something that can be made in 5 or 10 minutes that I feel good about eating, that I feel good about feeding my family. And so it's whether that's like having, having chicken sausages in your freezer, or having like always a few canned and jarred things that are easy to like throw on a lunch salad or something like that. So, always, always, always having a plan B, even if that's with your meditation habits, anything else, anything that you're trying to maintain. And number 7 is to remove the decision making. Now, this one is a little more complex, and it's something we could do a whole class on. A lot of these we could each individually do a class on, but basically the gist here is that we make a lot of decisions every day. The research shows that we make something like 200 food-related decisions every day. And I don't know about you, but I have no desire whatsoever to make 200 food decisions a day, much less like any other type of decision. So, half the battle in kind of getting done the things we want to do, or in sticking to the good habits we want to have, is that like that voice in your head that debates. So like if you're laying in bed in the morning, like, do I want to get up and exercise? Or if you're like deciding what to eat, or you're, came home from work and you're exhausted and you're deciding whether to do your workout or not. It's half the battle is removing that, where you get to like ruminate in your head about whether you want to do it. So really the points in here are basically try to make something either easier or harder to do. So if you like are trying, if you have a habit of laying in your bed at night and scrolling on your phone and you don't want to do that because you're trying to get a little bit more sleep, or you do that in the morning when you wake up and all of a sudden you've blown your workout time, right? Because you've laid in bed looking at Facebook for an hour or reading your emails. Like, it happens. So how can you make that harder, right? Like one way would be to plug your phone in the kitchen at night and make it so it's not even in your bedroom. If you feel like you need your phone in your bedroom at night, plug it in across the room so you have to actually get out of bed. So that's an example of kind of like, making it easier for yourself. Maybe like, that if you go home after work, you're going to plop down on that couch and you're not going to move. And then your daily movement is going to be blown, and you feel so much better if you get that in. But how can you make that easier? Like maybe that's keeping your exercise clothes in your car and not even going home first. Maybe that's taking a walk right from work. Something like that. How can you, again, take that decision making out of it? So then also, how can you create kind of cues and prompts for yourself? So if you're trying to drink more water, like, can you keep multiple glasses around your house, for example, or water bottles, or always keep your water with you? Or maybe you can make it associated with something you're already doing. So like every time I sit down at my desk, I'm going to drink a half a glass of water. And that starts to become associated with something you're already doing. So maybe that's like, I want to start a meditation practice. So every morning when my coffee brews, I'm going to breathe in and out for 2 minutes, so it's something that you're already doing. Tie it to something like that. And it makes it a lot easier. So the last one there is identify your weak points, right? So if you know, for example, that you every day you come home at 3 o'clock and you're starving, right? Well, first of all, maybe front load that with a little bit better eating so that you're not ever getting to a point of starving. But also, how can you support yourself for those weak moments? Like, how can you prep some really awesome healthy snacks that are in your fridge that are easy to pull out? Or how can you buy stuff that really supports your health goals and you're gonna be able to grab for in those super weak moments? Maybe you figure out that you need to, if you don't have really good protein in your breakfast and lunch, well, that means that you like eat all the chips at dinner or whatever. Start to kind of like, what are my lessons I can learn here? And if you do that in your stronger moments, then you're able to support yourself in your weaker moments. So that was kind of our longest point there that we are going to talk about. And then the next one is to practice gratitude. So I just love this one. And it's really about, turning the moment into the idea that you get to do this. So whether that's like, wow, I have these amazing strong legs that are going to take me on this walk right now. Like I have these lungs that breathe and I get to do this. I can do this. This focus on what you can do versus say like a deprivation or I have to work out. it's a totally different feeling in your body. And I actually draw on this one a lot also when I'm in the middle of a super hard workout. I did it today. Actually, I was like doing kind of a high intensity interval training, and like you get to a point where I'm like, oh my, I cannot do like another one of these, or I cannot go for 10 more seconds. And I honestly, I really dig into that idea or that thought of like I get to do this. I get to like breathe hard and move my body in this way. And I am so lucky because there are so many people who don't have the opportunity to do this. So I find this one to be a pretty powerful one, whether it is because you're trying to, make good choices about what you're eating, or whether you're trying to like get out the door, or, get a little bit more sleep or something, or whether you are trying to find a way to keep going in a harder moment. And this is just a little, funny little cartoon here about my next point, which is going to be about kind of why it matters to you. But it says, what fits your busy schedule better? Exercising an hour a day or being dead 24 hours a day, right? So really the point is focusing on your future and your why. So essentially, why does this matter to you? And part of it is that one of the smaller points of this is thinking about your tomorrow self. So I love this one because your tomorrow self might need different things, actually. Your tomorrow self might thank you because you did take that walk and you're going to have more energy. Your tomorrow self might thank you because you didn't have that third glass of wine, and your tomorrow self is going to feel so much better when you wake up. Your tomorrow self might be super happy that you cleaned the kitchen and left yourself with a clean kitchen, but your tomorrow self might also need to leave the dirty dishes in the sink and actually get more sleep. So it's really like, what does my tomorrow self need? And it's not always the same thing. But the bigger picture of that is really about your vision. So why is your health important to you? Like, why does it matter to you? And how do you want to feel? And when you think about this question, I would encourage you to go a few layers deeper than what you originally come up with. So it could be like, wow, I want to eat healthier because I want to lose a little bit of weight, or I want to have more energy, or something like that. But ultimately ask yourself, well, why does that matter? What does it mean if I can do that? And then really go even another step further in that. So if that's the case, what does that mean for me? What is going to be different in my life? Why does this matter? How does this really factor into my deepest values and what I care most about? And usually there's some pretty significant reasons for why it matters to you. And the fact that you each are here tonight, tells me that you have some really important reasons that you care about yourself. So the bonus is that I encourage you to truly embrace the journey. So just like this picture here, your health and your wellness is this long and winding road, right? And as much as possible, I would really encourage you to get off of the all or nothing roller coaster. I would say that this is the number one thing that I see with my clients. It's something that most of us have learned in one way or another. And it's a practice that is really, really common. This idea that I basically have to do it all really well or all really perfectly, or I'm gonna just throw it all out, right? Here's the deal. You are never gonna be perfect. I am never gonna be perfect. None of you are gonna be perfect, right? And so the quicker you adapt to that and realize that it really is about the next best decision that you can make for yourself. And that one, if you like don't move your body for a few days or a week, or you eat in a way that doesn't serve you for a whole week or whatever, that doesn't mean that you throw everything away and like abandon every possible healthy habit that you have, for the next month or the next year, right? So think about it like this. So like a lot of people I know that I work with have this idea that like, oh, if I can't do my full workout, I'm not going to bother to do it, right? Like if I only have 15 minutes, it's not worth doing it. So think about this. How does 15 minutes add up? What if you did 15 minutes every day for a week? What if you did 15 minutes every day for a year compared to doing nothing? That's significant. What if you did have an off day in how you eat? Is it better to throw all of that out for a long period of time? Or is it better to find a little grace and forgiveness for yourself and make the next best choice for yourself? I really encourage you to ask, like, what did I learn? I really subscribe to the idea that there are no failures, there are just experiments and lessons. And so you can kind of approach it as, what did I learn? How can I take that forward to serve myself? It's going to keep you moving forward on your journey, which ultimately is going to serve you much more than needing to feel deeply motivated every day. It's actually going to feed into your motivation. It's really about the all or something, not the all or nothing. So here's the 9 things plus the bonus that we went through. We talked about using a support system, making it doable right now, doing what you enjoy, getting specific, scheduling it, having a plan B, removing the decision making, practicing gratitude, knowing your why, and as a bonus, embracing the journey. And I'm curious, I'm going to stop my screen share in a minute. I'm curious if there's something in those points that impacted you today, like what stood out to you? Is there something that you're going to take away with you? And also, like, what are your best strategies? You can write them in the chat if you have any thoughts, or you can share here when we finish, when I stop my screen share. So I'd love to hear any thoughts that you have. And yeah, so again, I'm a health coach. I love working with people. I work one-on-one with people as well as in groups and do workshops, various collaborations with other doctors and other professionals. And I always offer a totally free discovery call to figure out what you are needing right now and how I might be able to help you understand that process. So I am going to stop my share now, and if anyone has anything they want to chime in with, or anything that you found helpful, I'd love to hear it.
I like how you pointed out that you won't do what you hate. I learned that. I hate exercising and sports. I was never good at them. And then I got a indoor rower, and I'm amazing at rowing, and I love rowing, and I row all the time. So found what I liked. So I really appreciate that you pointed that out. And then what was the other one? Like, tell your brain what to do. Like 5 days a week, I will do 10 minutes of something, and it doesn't matter what it is, as long as you do something. So I do a small group with some ladies in my town, and we just meet and we walk and do little bursts of some sort of exercise, but it's never pre-decided. There's no routine. It's just do what you can when you can do it. So, anything. you
Love
can
that,
get
but you
better.
know you're gonna go and you have that as a preset time, right?
Sometimes we just say like, hey, let's get together, let's do this, let's do that. It's not always preset. And sometimes we just sort of share a Zoom and be like, okay, this is what I did today, or, just kind of acknowledging that we don't have to go to the gym for an hour to a class to be successful.
I love that. Thank you for sharing all of that, Denise. Yeah, that social connection and that support, and knowing that there are just other people out there sharing your goals. So important. And yeah, and as far as the specifics go, we can, we get lost. Like we have our poor little brains are busy enough, they can't figure out how to extrapolate like what to do with ourselves if we don't have specific direction. So we need to help ourselves out that way. So thanks for sharing all that.
Deanna, I can share. This is Tita.
Hi.
Sorry, I came in a little later. I loved what you mentioned about tying it to something else. It's so simple to do, but sometimes we just don't think to do that. So I personally love the idea that you gave about whether it's breathing or meditation, maybe it's reading a book or maybe reading scripture, whatever speaks to you. Hi, Denise. And I love the coffee idea because it is something that most people do, whether it's coffee or tea. So that really spoke to me. And then also the all or nothing and how you just kind of walked us through, maybe you don't want to work out or you feel like, oh, it's too late or I'm not going to get the full one. I'm so guilty of this myself, right? Doing so much work and everything like that. And it's like, oh, well, it's already 8 o'clock. I'm not going to get to do it. And it's true. Even if it's 15 minutes of some kind of, like for me, yoga flow, that would work out really well. And doing that, maybe just focusing on that every day. And like you said, if we miss a day, it's okay. But how much more powerful is 15 minutes every day than, oh, I have to do a full whatever, 45 minutes or an hour, X amount of days a week. And then we feel guilty if we don't do it. So sorry for the long rant, but I really enjoyed that. So thank you.
No, that was a perfect explanation of that and expansion of that. So thank you, Tita, for sharing that. Appreciate that. Well, I appreciate everybody being on here tonight. I hope there was something you'll take away with you that, oh, did you have something to share?
I did. I love the point about accountability. Accountability. I had someone like that in Syracuse, and I need to find someone here like that.
She might be on this call.
Might be. Who would help me get up in the morning, which I don't like to do, and take a walk and sometimes even trot a little. So it was a really great experience. I also love the fact that you said, would you rather, like exercise, it didn't say it exactly this way, but a half an hour a day or be dead 24 hours a day. That kind of struck me. And we have an exercise tape that my husband and I do that says, if you have no time for your health today, you will have no health for your time tomorrow. And so I think that's exactly what you were saying as well. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's, that quote, you always see it, like, I'm not going to be able to remember it. Maybe one of you will, if you don't make time for your health, you'll need to make much more time for your illness, basically,
Right.
Right.
So exactly.
Yep. Yeah. Or the Buddhist quote, if you don't have 5 minutes to meditate, you need to meditate an hour every day. Right.
Right.
Thank you for sharing that. And yes, our social connections are so powerful, but we don't have to be able to be with somebody in person right now, to be able to create some accountability and some social support for ourselves.
I totally agree with that. I'm just going to chime in here for a sec. Sorry. Totally agree with that because I have a friend who literally will call me and she like let's say she went to a doctor's appointment or something, she would call me, and she knows now she can just leave me a message and say, hey, if you're around, I need to go walk, but I don't want to. So I'm calling my accountability buddy, and I will call her back and I'm saying, hey, are you walking? I'm just checking on you. Or I'll text her if I can't, if I'm in the middle of a meeting or something. So definitely accountability. I love it. So yeah, no excuses. I love it.
Awesome. Awesome. Yep. And that's where that, that's the type of extrinsic motivation, right? That's external motivation when we have somebody else that's going to like check in on us. And that's where it could be super positive. Like somebody shaming us into doing something isn't really going to help us change our behavior. But having this support system on the outside of us can totally help. All right. Well, we've gone over, I promised 30 minutes. So but I really enjoy chatting with you guys. If you have anything else to add, let me know. Otherwise, I think I'll let you all get on with your evening, and thanks for hopping on. And it was great to see each of you. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. So have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This lady's my 75-year-old mom I mentioned who rocked out the streak.
Well, you were my accountability buddy for that streak. So thank you.
I love it. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.